One wrong click, and the healthy became sick, while the sick believed in a miracle. 2 seconds of inattention destroyed lives, careers, and an entire system. The charity auction.
The room smelled of cardboard boxes and stale coffee. Rachel sat at a folding table in the back of the Nashville Community Center, sorting through donations that multiplied every hour like dirty laundry. Old lamps, porcelain figurines with broken noses, nameless landscapes in frames. All the same, all carrying a patina of fatigue. Rachel logged each item in the list, mechanically, as if convincing herself it had meaning, because tomorrow the money would go to children's programs. The auction was scheduled for Saturday. Donors came and went, dropped off boxes, nodded politely, and disappeared. The system was simple. Sticker, signature, a short smile. No one really checked documents. The main thing was flow. That day, Mr. Patterson, a former insurance adjuster with a reputation for being fussy, stopped by the office. He placed a rolled-up canvas against the wall while filling out the form for his monetary contribution. The conversation was muddled. The phone rang, volunteers demanded attention, the air conditioner groaned as if about to explode. Patterson left, but the canvas stayed behind. Rachel, holding 3 folders at once, absent-mindedly pushed it toward the other donations. 2 days later, the hotel ballroom was filled with light and laughter. People in evening gowns and pressed shirts raised their paddles. Live music played. The auctioneer, sweating under the spotlights, tossed off a remark. "If an item has no story, it usually invents one on its own." The crowd laughed. A volunteer setting a box near the stage muttered, "Heavy, must have been donated by angry, good people." At that moment, a warm, dusty draft burst into the hall. The door had been thrown open too sharply, and with it came red road dust. The radio backstage crackled as if commenting on it all. When it was time for Patterson's painting, a pastoral landscape in a heavy frame, Rachel noticed a scuff on the side panel. Her fingers trembled, but she decided to stay out of it. Too many eyes, too much fuss. The gavel struck. The painting went to a Memphis collector for a generous sum. Applause, clinking glasses, congratulations. Rachel allowed herself her first smile of the evening. Everything had worked. She didn't know. On the back, beneath the old varnish, there was an inscription in Patterson's hand. A family memory, slipping into strangers' hands. The mistake was already irreversible, though Rachel still thought it was nothing.
Nashville heat clung like sweat that wouldn't let go. In the foundation office, the air conditioner wheezed and spat warm air. Rachel sat at her computer, staring at an empty line in the report, knowing Patterson would soon discover the loss. The phone call confirmed it. His voice, dry, restrained, asked whether a certain landscape had accidentally found its way into the donation list. Rachel froze. She mumbled something evasive, promised to check, and hung up. For 5 minutes, she sat gripping the edge of the desk. The solution came in that silence. Replace it. Find a similar painting and swap it before the old man realized the truth. In her mind, it seemed almost noble. Not for herself, for the foundation, for the children, for the projects that would collapse if a scandal broke out. That evening, she drove to 3 thrift stores. In the first, the clerk measured the frame with a tape and asked, "Will you hang it by the nail or by conscience?" Rachel said nothing. In the second shop, an elderly woman dusted paintings and muttered without looking up. "Landscapes love new owners. They remember the old ones without us." Finally, in the third store, she saw it. A canvas gathering dust in the corner. A farm, cows, a sunset sky. Not identical, but close. The frame looked fresher, the brush heavier, but hung on wall without close inspection, it would pass. She bought it, clutching it like a thief with a stolen purse. Back at the office, she set it carefully against the wall, wiped the frame, fitted it with a numbered tag. Then she took a handful of gray ash from the ashtray and rubbed the edges to dull the new shine. The radio on the windowsill hissed louder, as if narrating her every move. Sitting before the canvas, Rachel repeated, "If you don't look closely, it looks honest." But deep down, she knew this honesty hung by a thread. One tug, and the knot would tighten. Patterson arrived unannounced, the way someone does when reclaiming what is his. The Foundation office was stifling, the fan just circulating hot air. Rachel looked up and saw him in the doorway. Neat suit, dark-handled cane, stone face. "I'd like to see the painting," he said, as if it were nothing. Rachel nodded, hoping he'd accept the swap. The canvas leaned against the wall. Farm at sunset. Patterson bent closer, squinted, ran a finger along the frame. Seconds dragged like hours. "The frame's too new," he said. "The set of emotions doesn't match the claim." Rachel forced a smile. "Perhaps restoration. Some donors spruce items up before donating." Patterson turned the canvas as though he already knew where to look. His gaze lingered on the back. Silence grew heavy. "Strange. My father always left a few words on the back. Here it's empty. As if someone wiped our memory clean." At that moment, a volunteer entered with a pie, placed it on the desk, and left without a word. The pause weighed heavier than the pie itself. Rachel spoke quickly, averting her eyes. "The paperwork keeps order. It may look strange, but the registry explains everything." Patterson gave her a long, dry look, then tapped his cane against the floor. The rhythm was steady, like an auctioneer's gavel. When he left, Rachel collapsed into her chair. Everything was unraveling too fast. A small substitution meant to save the Foundation was turning into an accusation wrapped in metaphors that only made it worse. That night, Rachel stayed alone at the office. Drafts chased scraps of paper across the floor. The radio hissed without tune. On the desk lay a blank donation form, the one that could save her. All it needed was a name, a signature, the Foundation's seal. A trifle. She picked up the pen, but a drawer slammed outside the door. The accountant's tired voice echoed, "Put the seal back when it's over." Rachel shuddered. No one was there, only echoes in the hall. She wrote the letters slowly, carefully, as if drawing a map out of a trap. Her hand shook, pulse pounding in her temples. She pulled the seal from the accountant's drawer and pressed it to the paper. The first imprint smeared, ink bleeding. She flipped the page and stamped again. Neat this time. But on the back lingered a ghostly mark, a memory of what was meant to be hidden. Footsteps froze her. The night guard peered in, rubbed his head, and asked out of nowhere, "Doesn't the heat taste kinda sweet to you?" Rachel nodded silently. He left. In the morning, Patterson officially demanded document verification. Rachel slipped the forgery into the folder, gripping it like a life raft. He flipped through the pages, said nothing, but left her with a look heavier than words. That evening, the phone rang. The Memphis collector spoke evenly. Saw a similar hand here. The brushwork's half a tone heavier. It pleases me and troubles me. Rachel stared at her ink-stained fingers. She whispered, "Ink washes off easier than history," and didn't believe herself.
The expert report came faster than Rachel expected. The collector specialist spotted the fraud easily. The seal's date didn't match the registry. The signature looked too fresh. The verdict was dry and merciless. Forged documents. Police entered quietly. 2 detectives in plain suits. One chewed gum, stared at the ceiling, then muttered, "Heat today's like a sticky alibi, though I'm better with weather than laws." Then leaned in, "Who filled out the donation form?" The other stayed silent, clicking his pen, spreading photos at odd angles. Auction lots, stamp, signature. "You're helping us a lot by lacking details," the first said with a smile, as if complimenting her. Rachel pressed her lips shut. Her formulas sounded emptier each time. The door opened. Patterson entered with a stack of old receipts. "Brought all my records. Thought they might help. Maybe the policy covers memory." He laughed sharply, then stopped, though I doubt it. A volunteer silently placed another pie on the table. Another crossed his name off the duty roster. These gestures cut deeper than accusations. A reporter shoved a notebook forward and asked absurdly, "Is charity a brand or a bookkeeping method?" No one answered. A draft blew a swirl of red dust down the hall. It settled on Rachel's hands, on the forged papers. She couldn't wipe it away. That evening, alone, she yanked the radio plug. The silence made more noise than the broadcast. The net was closing. Too many threads, all tied to her.
The arrest was ordinary, almost undramatic. 2 officers walked in, asked Rachel to come. She didn't resist. Volunteers by the coffee machine watched her go, some pitying, others relieved, as if they'd long awaited it. At the station, it was all routine: forms, mugshots, a metal bench. The prosecutor, tall and dry, spoke with a trace of mockery. The object found the wrong owner the right way. He paused, like a parking card on someone else's car. The judge sighed, adjusted his glasses. Stories love documents. Here the documents loved another story. Then tapped the microphone, muttering, "Hissing louder than the truth, damn it." By then, Patterson was already in the hospital. Relatives brought him once, cane on his lap. He whispered, "I insured everything, but nerves and the garden. The garden's overgrown, like me. Absurd and frightening all at once." The collector hired a pedantic lawyer. Flipping the catalogue without looking at the room, he said, "The provenance is a millimeter longer than stated. A millimeter, gentlemen, and that is a catastrophe. The trial dragged on like a farce. No one won. Money dissolved in paperwork, reputation in rumors, trust in emptiness. The once bright auction hall now stood deserted. Dust settled on folding chairs. A cleaner mopped and muttered, "Chairs weigh less when no one hopes in them." Rachel sat in her cell, staring at the gray wall. It all began with a trifle, a canvas mistakenly taken as a donation. She wanted to save the system, but destroyed it. The collapse wasn't loud. It was sticky, heavy, like the heat outside, which made it worse.
The foundation building stood empty. The faded sign creaked in the wind. Windows boarded, doors blistered from heat and dust. Inside smelled of mildew. On the wall, a lone nail left a dark streak, like a child's growth mark no one measured. At first, journalists still came. One cameraman, filming the empty corridor, muttered, "Dust takes light better than people do." They never returned. The city grew cautious. Donation boxes now required, briefly about your item. One wrote, "Grandma's cup." Another, "Souvenir from the fair." Someone left the line blank. A volunteer said, "Honest, without a story, feels safer that way." In the prison library, Rachel flipped through an old auction catalog. Yellowed pages smelled of dust. In the margins, someone else's hand had scrawled, "An unnamed lot speaks louder." She traced the words, holding her breath. For a moment they seemed to fade, but only darkened at her touch. Sometimes silence broke with strange sounds. The man across the table clicked his pen and said suddenly, "Trees grow, even if no one watches." Then fell silent, as if he hadn't spoken. At night, the library emptied. Rachel stayed, while the guard rattled keys. Then came a dry knock, distant, like a gavel striking again. She lifted her head. The pause stretched. And then came the hiss again, without a radio, without a source. A reminder that one mistake can echo forever if the city chooses to listen.